Sister Martha and I have been talking all week about your husband's sermons last Sunday. It really is wonderful, Mrs. Harper. In only 2 short years, he's taken on the spirit of Brooklyn. That's very gratifying, Miss Brewster. You see, living next to the church all our lives, we've seen so many ministers come and go. The spirit of Brooklyn, we say, is friendliness, and your husband's sermons are not as much sermons as friendly talks.
Personally, I've always enjoyed my talks with Cardinal Gibbons. Oh, have I met him yet?
No, dear. Are the biscuits good?
Bully.
Would you like another biscuit, Mrs. Harper? Oh, no, Miss Abby. I'm afraid I'll have no appetite for dinner now. I always have too many of your biscuits just to taste that lovely jam. But you haven't tried the quince. We always put a little apple in it to take the tartness out. No, thank you. We'll send you over a jar. No, you keep it here so I can be sure of having your biscuits with it. No, I hope they don't make us use that imitation flour again. But with the war trouble, it may not be very charitable of me, but I'm starting to believe that this Mr. Hitler isn't a Christian. If only Europe were on another planet.
Europe, madam?
Yes, Teddy.
Point your gun the other way!
Gun?
To the west! There's your danger, that's your enemy, Japan!
Why, yes, of course. Teddy.
Aunt Abby, not so much talk about Europe and more talk about the canal.
Well, let's just not talk about the war. Would you like another cup of tea, dear?
No, thank you, Aunt Abby.
Mrs. Harper? No, thank you. I must say, Miss Abby, that war and violence seem far removed from these surroundings. It is peaceful here, isn't it? Yes, peaceful. The virtues of another day. They're all here, in this house. The gentle virtues that went out with candlelight and good manners and low taxes. It's just as it was when Grandfather Brewster built and furnished it. It's one of the oldest houses in Brooklyn, except for the electricity. But we try to use it as little as possible. You know, it was Mortimer who persuaded us to put it in. Yes, I can understand that. Your nephew Mortimer seems to live only by electric light. The poor boy has to work so late. I understand it's a lame Mortimer is taking to the theater with him tonight. Teddy, your brother Mortimer will be home a little later tonight.
Ah, bully!
We're so happy it's a play Mortimer is taking to the theater with him. Well, it's a new experience for me to wait up until 3 o'clock in the morning for my daughter to be brought home. Mrs. Harper, I hope you don't disapprove of Mortimer. Well, we'd feel so guilty if you did, Sister Martha and I, since it was here in our home that your daughter met Mortimer. Yes, Miss Abby, I can understand that. And so I'll say immediately that I believe Mortimer himself to be quite a worthy gentleman. But I must also admit that I've watched the growing intimacy between him and my daughter with some trepidation. For one reason, Miss Abby. You mean his stomach, Mrs. Harper? Stomach? His dyspepsia. He's bothered with it so. Poor boy. No, Miss Abby, I'll be frank. I'm speaking of your nephew's unfortunate connection with the theater. The theater? Oh, no. Mortimer writes for a New York newspaper, Mrs. Harper. Oh, I know, Miss Abby, I know. But a dramatic critic is constantly exposed to the theater, and I don't doubt that some of them develop an interest in it. Oh, no, not Mortimer. Why, you have no fear of that. Mortimer hates the theater. Really? Oh, yes. He writes awful things about the theater, but you can't blame him. He was so happy writing for real estate, which he really knew something about. And then they just gave him this terrible night position. My. But as he says, the theater can't last much longer, and for now it is living. Yes, let's give it a year or two, perhaps. Oh, who do you suppose that is? No, Teddy, I'll go. Hello, Mrs. Brophy.
Hello, Miss Brewster.
How are you, Miss Klein?
Very well, Miss Brewster.
What news have you brought me?
We have nothing to report, Colonel.
Splendid ladies at ease.
You know Mrs. Harper.
Sure. Hello, Mrs. Harper. We've come for the toys for the Christmas fund.
Oh, yes. That's a splendid work you ladies do. Fixing up discarded toys to give poor children a happier Christmas.
Gives us something to do when we have to sit around the station. You get tired of playing guards, and you start cleaning your gun, and first thing you know, you shot yourself in the foot.
Teddy, go get that big box from your Aunt Martha's room. Brophy has been quite ill, Mrs. Harper.
Pneumonia.
He's
He's a little weak still.
Well, I'm going to get you some beef broth to take with you.
Don't bother, Miss Abby. You've done so much for him already.
Oh, we made it this morning. Sister Martha is bringing some to poor Mr. Beninsky right now. I'll only be a minute. Sit down and be comfortable, all of you.
She shouldn't go to all that trouble.
Listen, trying to stop her and her sister from doing something nice and for nothing. They don't even care how you vote.
When I received my call to Brooklyn and moved next door, my mother wasn't well. When she died, and for months before, well, if I've known what pure kindness and absolute generosity are, it's because I've known the Brewster sisters.
Colonel! You promised not to do that.
But I have to call a cabinet meeting to get the release of those supplies.
He used to do that in the middle of the night. Neighbors raised Cain with us. They're a little afraid of him anyways.
Oh, he's quite harmless.
Suppose he does think he's Teddy Roosevelt. There's a lot worse people he could think he was.
Damn shame. Nice family like this hatching a cuckoo.
Well, his father, the old girl's brother, he was some sort of a genius, wasn't he? And their father, Teddy's grandfather, well, I heard he was a little crazy too.
Yeah, he was crazy like a fox. Made $1 million.
Really? Here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, patent medicine. He was some sort of quack. Old Surgeon Edwards remembers him. He used a house here as some sort of clinic. Tried him out with people.
And I heard he used to make mistakes occasionally too.
The department never bothered him much because he's pretty useful in autopsies sometimes, especially for poison cases.
Well, whatever he did, he left his daughters fixed for life. Thank God for that.
Not that they'd spend any of it on themselves.
Yes, I'm well acquainted with their charities.
You don't know the tenth bit. When I was with the Missing Persons Bureau, we had tried to trace an old man that we never did find. And I had to look up a list of all the bed and breakfasts and hotels here in Brooklyn. And did you know that there's a renting agency that's got this house down on its list for furnished rooms? They don't rent rooms, but you can bet that anyone that comes here looking for one goes away with a good meal and a few dollars in their kick.
It's just their way of digging up some people to do some good to.
Well, now, isn't this nice?
Good morning, Miss Brewster.
How do you do, Mrs. Brophy? Miss Klein? Mrs. Harper?
How are you, Miss Brewster? We dropped in there with the Christmas toys.
Oh, yes, Teddy's Army and Navy. They wear out. They're all packed up.
Oh, the Colonel's upstairs after them. It seems the cabinet has to okay it first.
Of course. I hope Mr. Brophy's better.
Oh, he's fine. Your sister's getting some soup for me to take to him.
Oh, yes, we just made it this morning. I just took some over to a man who broke ever so many bones.
Oh, Martha, you're back. How is Mr. Beninsky?
Well, dear, it's pretty serious, I'm afraid. The doctor was there. He's going to amputate in the morning.
Can we be present?
I asked, but he said it's against the rules of the hospital.
You couldn't be of any service, and you must spare yourself something. Here's the broth, Mrs. Brophy. Be sure it's good and hot.
Yes, ma'am.
This will be fine. This will make a lot of kids happy. That O'Malley went nuts about soldiers.
That's General Miles. I've retired him. Who's this? Colonel Organ.
Teddy, put it back.
But Colonel Organ goes to Australia.
Now, Teddy.
No, I've given my word to fighting Bob Evans.
But Teddy.
What difference does it make what kid gets it? Bobby Evans? Izzy Cohen? Well, we'll run along, ma'am, and thank you very much.
Not at all. I must be going too. Oh, before you go, Mrs. Harper, I would really like to talk to you about something.
Shut